What if the strength you admire in women is not the strength you think it is? You may look at the woman who stands before you, silent, steady, and perhaps distant, and believe you see her power in the sharpness of her words, the fire in her eyes, or the outward momentum of her actions. But that would be a mistake. The truth is far more elusive, far more subtle, and far more complex than you have been led to believe. You might think her power is loud, a force you can grasp, and hold a blaze that burns brightly for all to see. But women in their deepest essence do not wield power in the way you understand it. The quiet flame that burns within her is not a spark of ego, but a force that emerges from silence often unseen and misunderstood. What is this power then? How does it manifest, and why does it seem so elusive to you? It is not about dominance or aggression, nor about submission or gentleness. It is something deeper, something that runs beneath the surface of all her actions, her words, and her very presence. It is a silent strength that transcends what you see and challenges your very understanding of what it means to be powerful. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the human psyche, uncovered something about women that you have likely missed. Their greatest strength lies not in their ability to shout or dominate, but in their capacity for quiet resistance, subtle influence, and a profound connection to the unseen world. Jung recognized that the feminine archetype is not simply about softness or vulnerability. It is about depth, mystery, and the inner power that quietly transforms everything it touches. And so, as you stand before her, perhaps at a distance, perhaps confused by her silence, understand this: the strength of women is not what you think it is. What if the key to understanding the true strength of women lies not in what they show you, but in what they allow you to miss? In the presence of a woman, there is a stillness that permeates the air, an unsettling calm that calls you to pay attention, but not with the frantic urgency you might expect. You are drawn to her not because of the obvious displays of power or control, but because something far deeper, far more intricate is at play. It is as if she speaks not with words, but with the very energy that surrounds her, a language you cannot quite comprehend yet feel instinctively. Women are often portrayed as objects of vulnerability, or as symbols of nurturance, yet this simplistic view fails to capture the full breadth of their essence. The image of the woman as a passive vessel is a lie, a mask that covers a truth far more dangerous to your comfortable worldview. For within her silence lies a force that is not passive, but profoundly active, alive in every subtle gesture, every unsaid thought, every pause between words. It is the silence that creates a space for transformation, a space where things can be reformed, remade, and reimagined. But you are not accustomed to seeing this power, are you? You are taught to seek the loud, the brash, the unmistakable signs of control, and so you miss what is right in front of you. The paradox you face is this: the strength of women is at once hidden and undeniable, delicate, yet overwhelming. It is not the strength of brute force or willful action. It is the strength of endurance, of depth, of a quiet kind of presence that flows beneath the surface of all things. Women move through the world with an unseen grace, a quiet determination that builds not through visible displays, but through the subtle accumulation of moments, decisions, and inner alignments. She does not need to shout to be heard, for her silence speaks in ways that words never could. What you fail to see is that women possess a power that is not of this world. It is a power born of the unconscious, the realm of archetypes and ancient symbols. Jung in his work spoke of the anima, the unconscious feminine aspect within every man, and it is through this aspect that a deeper understanding of women must be sought. But here is the rub: you as a man will never fully comprehend the anima. Just as women cannot truly understand the animus, the masculine side of the psyche, you too are bound by the limitations of your own gendered consciousness. And yet it is through this very gap, this very misunderstanding, that the mystery of women's silent strength emerges. This is not a weakness, but a profound strength to move through the world with an unspoken depth, to embody a mystery that you can never fully grasp, but will always feel drawn to. Her silence, her presence is a mirror to the depths of your own unconscious mind, revealing to you the parts of yourself you have not yet confronted. And yet even as you are drawn to her, even as you feel her power beneath your feet, there is a part of you that wishes to control it, to explain it, to make it comprehensible. But the more you seek to define her, the more she slips through your fingers. What you must understand, though, is this woman's silent strength is a reflection of the divine, a mirror to the cosmos itself. It is that which can never be fully known or understood, but can only be felt, experienced, and if you are fortunate, transformed by it. Her silence is the very essence of the feminine archetype, a power that exists beyond the intellect, beyond reason, and beyond time. It is a force that is not meant to be tamed, but embraced. This is the silent strength that Jung spoke of, the force that binds the unconscious to the conscious, the eternal to the ephemeral. And yet there is a danger in not recognizing this paradox. You risk reducing her, as society often does, to a set of roles and expectations, mother, daughter, lover, each more confining than the last. But when you reduce her to these categories, you lose sight of the infinite complexity that lies beneath the surface. You mistake her for something simple, something easily understood. But the truth is, she is not simple at all. She is a vast uncharted territory, a world unto herself. And it is only when you cease to try to define her, when you stop trying to control her mystery, that you may begin to understand the profound nature of her strength. If you can let go of your need to conquer or explain, you might just catch a glimpse of the power that lies within. For it is in the quiet, in the stillness, that her true strength emerges, silent, unspoken, and far more powerful than anything you have yet to imagine. What then would it mean for you to stand beside her, not as a man seeking to possess, but as one who seeks to understand, and to simply be in the presence of this incredible force? This is the paradox. The more you try to understand, the further you move from comprehension. But the closer you move toward acceptance, the more you come to see her not as something to be understood, but as something to be revered. And so the mystery of women's strength remains not as something to be conquered, but as something to be felt, a silent, powerful force that waits ever so patiently for you to notice. In the quiet depths of the feminine psyche, there exists a vastness that defies conventional understanding. It is this depth that Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, sought to explore throughout his career, uncovering layers of the unconscious mind that most never dare to approach. He spoke of the anima, the feminine principle within every man, the internalized image of the woman that each man projects onto the external world. But the anima is not merely an abstraction. It is a key to understanding women's silent strength, a gateway into the vast unseen forces that shape their lives and experiences. Jung understood that the feminine is not a mere counterpart to the masculine, but a force in its own right, a force that does not conform to the linear, outwardly driven nature of the animus, the masculine counterpart in the female psyche. The anima, he suggested, is connected to the unconscious, the deeper realms of the psyche that escape rational thought, where feelings and images emerge as symbols rather than structured concepts. Women therefore operate within a framework that transcends the rational, the conscious, and the measurable. To understand this strength, you must shift your perspective and move beyond the logical world that you are accustomed to inhabiting. Women's silent strength does not arise from the willful assertion of their egos or the loud claims of power. No, it arises from a deep underlying connection to the unconscious. Their power is not expressed through force or overt domination, but through an alignment with the vast invisible currents of existence itself. This is a quiet force, not because it lacks potency, but because it is not measured by the same standards you often use to evaluate power. This is the strength of the archetypes of myth and of symbol, the hidden structures that guide the feminine psyche without ever revealing themselves fully to the conscious mind. What you fail to grasp is that women in their truest sense are connected to something far larger than their individual selves. They tap into a deep, primordial reservoir of energy, one that is not confined by the ego or the structures of society. This connection is reflected in their natural ability to sense, to intuit, to feel what is unspoken or unseen. In Jungian terms, women are often more deeply attuned to the archetypal forces that govern the unconscious mind. These forces, such as the Great Mother, the Wise, Old Woman, the Lover, exist not as abstract concepts, but as living, breathing energies that course through the feminine psyche. When you encounter a woman who seems to possess an almost ethereal strength, a quiet presence that you cannot quite put your finger on, you are encountering this deep connection. She is not simply a person. She is the embodiment of archetypal energy. And these energies are not external or artificial. They come from within, from the very core of the collective unconscious, a realm of human experience that transcends time, culture, and individual experience. This is why you cannot fully understand her or the nature of her power. It is not yours to grasp in your linear ego-driven way. You cannot dissect it with logic, for it does not abide by the same rules. The psyche of women is a labyrinth of symbols, dreams, and intuitions that do not always fit within the rigid structures of your worldview. Women's strength comes not from acting, but from being a state of being that is attuned to the rhythms of the universe, the ebb and flow of life itself. Her power does not need to be defended, because it is rooted in something far more enduring than external recognition or approval. It is the power of the archetypes themselves, the timeless forces that shape the very nature of existence. Consider for a moment the archetype of the Great Mother. This is not simply a figure of nurture or care, but a primordial force that gives birth to all life and also consumes it. She is both creation and destruction, life and death. The strength of the feminine in this sense is not a passive submission, but an active presence that holds within it the entirety of existence. It is the strength of the woman who can embody both gentleness and fierce protection, who can be both the source of life and the agent of transformation. Her silent strength is a reflection of the natural world itself, unseen, but all-encompassing, able to flow through every moment and every experience. But what does this mean for you? As a man, you are often taught to define power in a very specific way. Power is something you assert, something you control, something you display for the world to see. But the feminine principle does not work like this. It is not about control or display. It is about being in tune with something far deeper. You may recognize strength in the forceful action, in the loud proclamation of self. But this is not the whole picture. The feminine power Jung suggested is one of integration, integrating the unconscious with the conscious, the light with the shadow, the known with the unknown. Women's silent strength is the power of wholeness, the power of mystery, and the power of integration. It is an invitation to step into a larger, more mysterious world where things are not always as they seem. What you fail to understand, then, is that the strength of women cannot be fully captured by the categories and definitions you so readily apply. The image of the strong woman is not one of bluster or bravado, but one of depth and quiet potency. She moves through the world in a way that disrupts your comfortable understanding of power, because her strength is not about assertion, it is about being. It is about embodying the forces that shape reality, forces that remain invisible and mysterious, yet undeniably present in every moment. And yet you may still find yourself struggling to reconcile this with your experience. You may search for this power in the wrong places, in the wrong behaviors. You may try to find it in the loud, the forceful, and the overt, because this is how you have been conditioned to recognize strength. But the true strength of women does not announce itself. It waits, it watches, and it silently shapes the world around it. It is not a force you can control, but a presence you can only witness. In witnessing it, you may come to understand that true power is not always what is seen, but what lies beneath the surface, hidden in plain sight. Jung's discovery of the feminine principle was a revelation, not just about women, but about the very nature of the psyche itself. It was a call to look beyond the obvious, to listen to the whispers of the unconscious, and to embrace the mystery that lies within us all. And so when you encounter a woman's silent strength, do not try to explain it away or reduce it to something you can comprehend. Instead, allow yourself to be in awe of it, to feel it, and to recognize that this strength is not simply hers. It is a reflection of something far greater, a force that transcends both time and space and speaks to the deepest parts of your own soul. When you fail to understand the silent strength of women, you risk much more than missing the essence of what it means to be powerful. You risk an entire worldview, one that relies on surface impressions and the need to control, categorize, and possess. The consequences of this misunderstanding are not merely theoretical. They are deeply practical, quietly weaving themselves into the fabric of your life, your relationships, and your perceptions. The most obvious consequence of misinterpreting women's strength is the perpetuation of limiting stereotypes. When you view a woman's power as passive, as something to be tamed or understood, you strip her of her true agency. You reduce her to roles and expectations that fit neatly within the boxes you've constructed for your own comfort. Perhaps you've already witnessed this in your relationships, the dissonance between what you expect from a woman and what she actually offers. You demand clarity, but you receive ambiguity. You seek control, but you are met with a resistance you cannot name. And each time you misunderstand her, you create a subtle rupture between yourself and the feminine energy that she embodies. This rupture is not one that can be easily fixed, for it is not rooted in the external world, but in the very way you see the world. The larger societal consequence of misunderstanding women's silent strength is the way in which entire cultures devalue the feminine. The patriarchal structures that dominate much of the world are built upon the dismissal of the feminine, relegating it to a secondary inferior status. When you fail to recognize the true power of women, you contribute to the perpetuation of these psychological imbalances. Women in their silent strength are often forced to navigate these structures either by conforming to the expectations placed upon them or by resisting them in ways that go unacknowledged. Their power remains hidden, unappreciated, or worse, feared. The feminine as a force in its own right remains untapped, reduced to mere shadows of its potential. But perhaps the most insidious consequence of all is the disconnection between men and the unconscious. Women in their silent strength represent the gateway to the unconscious. When you fail to recognize this strength, you cut yourself off from this deeper realm. You deny yourself access to the very forces that could guide you toward a more integrated whole version of yourself. Women in this sense are not only mirrors to your own unconscious, they are also the bridge to a larger reality. When you misunderstand the feminine, you misunderstand the unconscious. You create a gulf between the conscious rational mind and the deep symbolic forces that lie beneath it. This disconnection leaves you adrift, unable to access the very resources that could lead you towards self-discovery and transformation. It is not enough to understand the outer world through logic and reason. You must also understand the inner world, the world of feeling, intuition, and imagination. And this is where the feminine strength lies, in the capacity to connect with these deeper forces, to embrace the unknown, and to allow it to transform you from the inside out. The consequences of misunderstanding women's silent strength, then, are not confined to the realm of interpersonal relationships. They extend to the very core of human existence, to the relationship between the conscious and unconscious, the rational and the intuitive, the known and the unknown. When you deny the feminine, you deny your own connection to these forces. You become fragmented, incomplete, unable to access the full spectrum of your potential. The true strength of women is not in what is visible, but in what remains hidden in the spaces where nothing is said, but everything is felt. To stand before the silent strength of women, to truly witness and embrace it, requires a transformation within you, a shift that will not come easily nor quickly. For you are bound by a particular way of seeing the world, one shaped by centuries of cultural conditioning, one that prizes the loud, the assertive, the visible, over the silent, the subtle, the unseen. You have been taught that strength is something you claim, something you actively display to the world. But the feminine strength you now seek is not so easily captured. It is not a force that can be conquered or defined. It is a living, breathing mystery, one that calls you to look beyond the surface, beyond the realm of what you know, and to enter into a deeper space of awareness. This shift will not be easy, because it requires an unraveling of your deeply held beliefs and assumptions. It asks you to question the very foundations of your identity, to confront the ways in which you have learned to see women and in turn yourself. To recognize the true power of women is to recognize the power within yourself, the hidden unconscious parts of you that you may have ignored or dismissed for most of your life. For as Jung so astutely observed, the unconscious is not something external. It is an intrinsic part of who you are. The shadow that you project onto women, the hidden fears, desires, and projections is not solely theirs, it is yours as well. And so the awakening you are called to is not simply about recognizing the power of women. It is about confronting your own inner contradictions, your own unconscious projections. It is about seeing the places where you have denied your own depth, where you have buried the archetypal energies within you that are mirrored in the feminine. Jung spoke of the process of individuation, the integration of the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche, and it is this process that you must undertake if you are to fully understand the silent strength of women. This is where the challenge begins, to embark on the journey of self-awareness, to embrace the feminine within yourself, means to face the parts of yourself that you have ignored, rejected, or suppressed. You must confront the hidden territories of your psyche, the parts of you that are connected to the unconscious, to the deeper symbolic realms of life. This is not a comfortable process. It requires that you move beyond the safety of your rational mind, beyond the certainty of what you know, and enter into the realm of mystery. It asks you to let go of control, to stop trying to define everything, and allow yourself to feel the full complexity of existence. When you begin to engage with the feminine, you begin to engage with your own shadow, the parts of you that are hidden, unacknowledged, or even feared. This is why it is so difficult to understand the true strength of women. It requires you to face what you have avoided within yourself. The feminine, in all its silent power, is a reflection of your own inner darkness, your own unconscious fears and desires. To embrace the feminine is to embrace your own shadow, and to do so requires a deep courage, for it asks you to look into the abyss of your own psyche and accept what you find there. But there is no true transformation without this confrontation. You cannot truly witness the power of women if you are unwilling to witness the power within yourself. To understand women's silent strength is to understand that this strength is not separate from you, but is an intrinsic part of the human experience. It exists within all of us, man and woman alike. The power of the feminine is not something to be feared or controlled. It is something to be integrated, to be lived. And so the journey toward understanding this silent strength begins with an awakening, a shift in your awareness that takes you deeper into the mystery of existence. This awakening will not come in the form of an epiphany, a sudden revelation. It will come slowly in moments of quiet reflection, in the spaces between your thoughts, in the silence between words. It will come when you allow yourself to feel the depth of the world around you, when you embrace the uncertainty, the ambiguity, the shadows that lurk just beyond your conscious grasp. This is the space where the feminine thrives, where her power pulses quietly beneath the surface. But to awaken to this power, you must let go of your need for control. You must release the urge to define, to label, to quantify. This is not an intellectual exercise. It is a process of deep emotional immersion. You must feel your way into it, allowing the feminine to reveal itself to you, not through logic, but through experience. You must allow the mystery to unfold on its own, trusting that in time you will come to understand what is beyond your grasp. As you awaken, you will begin to notice the subtle ways in which the feminine manifests in your life, the quiet strength of women that is present in every moment, in every word, in every silence. It is not the loud attention-grabbing force that you are accustomed to. It is a power that speaks to you through feeling, through intuition, through the deep resonance of your soul. It is present in the way a woman moves, in the way she holds herself, in the quiet moments when she is not seeking approval or validation. It is a strength that arises from within, from the very depths of her being, And it is this power that you must learn to recognize and honor. But even as you recognize it, you may find yourself resisting. You may still want to label it, to explain it, to contain it within your understanding. But the more you try to control it, the more elusive it becomes. This is the paradox. The more you seek to understand the feminine, the more you move away from it. It is only when you stop trying to define, when you stop trying to possess, that you can truly experience the depth of its power. And so the journey toward understanding the silent strength of women is one of self-discovery, of emotional immersion, and of surrender. It is about letting go of the need to control and allowing yourself to be transformed by what you encounter. This is the awakening. You are called to a journey that takes you deep into the heart of existence, where the mystery of the feminine waits patiently, silently, for you to notice. When you do, you will come to understand that the silent strength of women is not separate from you, but is in fact a mirror of your own potential. And in this recognition, you will begin to experience a deeper, more profound connection to life itself. The journey toward transformation begins now. Will you take the first step? Or will you remain tethered to the surface, unable to dive into the depths where the true power lies? You stand at the edge of a vast and mysterious world, a world where the strength of women waits silent and unseen beneath the surface of your understanding. What would it mean then for you to truly witness this strength, to step beyond the boundaries of what you think you know, and allow yourself to be transformed by its quiet power? The feminine does not demand your recognition. It does not seek your validation. It is not an outward force that requires your approval. It exists in silence, in stillness, in moments that pass unnoticed, yet leave their mark on everything they touch. The question is not whether you will come to understand it, but whether you are ready to embrace the mystery, to surrender to the depths that await just beyond your grasp. And as you stand here poised at the threshold of this discovery, ask yourself, what is it that you truly seek? The power you think you understand, or the power that lies just beyond the surface? The strength that is loud, aggressive, and visible, or the strength that quietly transforms, unseen and profound? The path forward is yours to choose. But remember this, the most powerful forces in the universe are not those that can be measured, controlled, or contained. They are those that remain hidden, waiting to be discovered, just as the silent strength of women waits ever so patiently for you to notice.